Welcome to Language, Mindful Utilization of Patterns, Part 2. In this we first look at the group of linguistic distinctions called deletions. Looking at the first one, someone might say something along the lines, "They're worried." As you can see from the dots there, there's a whole lot missing from that sentence. This is an example of a simple deletion. We might ask, about what? Or about what specifically? Or how specifically? But from a Milton model perspective, we might say to somebody, "You may be excited." Their conscious mind might ask, about what? But we're suggesting to the unconscious things like, in the conversation we've been having, what is there that you could be excited about? Is this pointing to some way of fulfilling your values, or helping you evolve your identity, or some new skill you're developing? Our next one. Someone might say something like, "He really annoyed me." We might ask ourselves who specifically, and that's indicating that this is a lack of referential index. Of course, such a thing can be used in the Milton model way. This is a wonderful opportunity. A person's conscious mind might ask, what specifically is a wonderful opportunity? But we're suggesting to the unconscious, have you realized that this could be a genuine opportunity? What is available in this situation that you could use to have this be a wonderful, whatever that is for you, opportunity? Next. My boss is treating me worse than ever. In what way specifically is their behaviour worse? Is something that might occur to us to ask, indicating that this is a comparative deletion. We could also ask, how specifically is it worse? What are your criteria for good, bad and worse? And how is your boss's behaviour meeting your criteria for worse? From the Milton model perspective, we could say something like, every adversity provides an opportunity to be better. How specifically can I be better? Their conscious mind might ask, but we're suggesting to the unconscious things like, examine your criteria for good, bad, worse, better. Now find something that matches better. Or, can you learn a new skill, develop a new ability, recognize your core values, and act on them in a way that will make things better? And then there's verbs. Somebody says something like, Fred really upset me. What we don't know is how Fred was upset. So this is an unspecified verb. Consciously we might ask, in what way specifically? How specifically did he upset you? What were Fred's behaviours that you found upsetting? From the Milton model perspective, unspecified verbs can be particularly helpful. For example, evidence of your learning will encourage you. A person's conscious mind could say, how specifically? But we're suggesting to the unconscious, 1. Notice that you're learning, and 2. Find ways to use that recognition of learning to encourage yourself. Or, what sorts of values and beliefs deep within you do you tap into when you encourage yourself? And the final one in these deletions. Someone could say, lack of efficiency is a sign of disengagement. Both efficiency and disengagement are examples of those words we call nominalisations. Words that represent processes, not actual concrete things or people. Our metamodal questions that would occur in our head, certainly, and we might ask the person, are things like, what is happening that is a sign of lack of efficiency? Or how specifically are people disengaging? What specifically would people be doing if they were being efficient? And our task here is, you will remember, is to denominalize those abstract nouns. Of course, from another perspective, nominalizations often tap into what is important for people. For example, as your competency increases, so do you. A person's conscious mind might say, how specifically can I or you increase? But we're suggesting to the unconscious things like, you can become more competent, even if you are already very competent. You develop as an identity as you increase knowledge and skills that congruently fulfill your values. Our next group are the generalisations. A very simple one, an obvious one, an easy one to pick up is when somebody says something like, it's always the same problem. Words like always, no one, never, every time indicate that the idea is being applied universally. So they're universal quantifiers. And we'll hear in our head, and maybe even ask, always? On every occasion? Every single time? And on the other side, we could suggest to someone something like, there is never no opportunity to learn and evolve. The conscious mind might go, what, not ever? But we're suggesting to the unconscious, every single set of circumstances can be a chance to grow and evolve. Or, how can you use the current circumstances to grow and evolve in ways that are congruent with your values? And then we have a couple of ways of operating, two forms of what we call modal operators. The first is indicated with sentences like this: you mustn't ask questions that challenge orthodoxy. Words like you must or must not, or you should or you should not, or you have to or you have not to. These are modal operators of necessity. We can ask questions like, what would happen if you did, or what prevents you from asking challenging questions? On the Milton model side, we can even use a modal operator of necessity to help create choice or to invite investigation of an idea. For example, no one is saying you should learn at every opportunity. If you tell someone they should learn at every opportunity, they might react to that in an adverse way. But we're actually providing choice by saying, no one is saying you should learn at every opportunity. So we're suggesting to the unconscious, have you recognized the choice you have here? Or, what is important enough to you that you could use this opportunity to learn? Or, is there a belief you could examine that if you were to change that belief, you would be able to learn from this? And on the other side of necessity, we have sentences like, we can or can't do it that way. Phrases or words that suggest possibility. What is possible, what's not possible. What can be done, what cannot be done. These are modal operators of possibility. We could ask, from a metamodal perspective, things like, what prevents us? What would happen if we did? On the other side of it, we could say something like, only you can find the way to learn even more easily. So we're suggesting to the unconscious things like, learning more easily is possible. How can you learn more easily? What methods of learning could you try? What belief could you change that would help you learn more easily? What value, if engaged, would provide the motivation both to learn and to investigate easier ways of learning? That completes part 2. Part 3 goes on to look at the fascinating area of distortions.